Lefty. Lefty, of course, is irresponsible and is late again. That is typical of liberals. Just need to get that jab in here. For the second time since the beginning of the year, we're having a super special guest. Isn't that right, Frank?
That's right.
Absolutely. Our special guest today is Senator Brad Zaun, who represents Urbandale, Johnston, a little bit of Waukee.
No, Grimes.
Grimes, goes up to Grimes a little bit. So we have him in the studio. Yeah, I took my beads out after I got back. I'm no longer quite as Hawaiian as I used to be. So, Brad, thanks for coming in today. How have things been going for you?
Well, great. And I would have to say that I wouldn't consider I would be at the level of a very highly special guest. But it's good to see you. You look relaxed.
Oh, thanks.
I understand you were on a little trip, and you look great.
Well, what I understand is the moment you left, I showed up.
Yeah, it was. It's a beautiful area to be. So
yeah,
I would love to live there someday. Yeah. During the winters.
Did you like my shave ice I posted for you on Facebook?
Yes,
there?
I did.
That was good.
Yeah, that was great.
Do you like that shave ice out there?
Yes, I do. Yes,
all right.
I do. Yeah.
How'd you like traveling out there as a conservative in the land of leftydom?
Actually, there was a couple times when we took tours where some very extreme liberal views were broadcast that were very inaccurate to all of us in the tour group that I had to correct the tour guide. But you know what? I kind of decided that where I was at where I was at the island that I was on, I could probably handle it because it's about 75 to 85 degrees every day consistently.
Yep.
There's all the chickens I would ever be able to eat for the rest of my life on that island.
That's right.
And so really everybody was great people, and definitely they have a leftist view. And some of this stuff I can understand from an environmental, because that is a very beautiful island, and all the islands are beautiful. So it was a great place to be. Kauai is where I was at, so I got along just fine. I really did. I got the opportunity to spend a little bit of time in some of those really nice little places where they serve you a cold beverage.
Yes.
Some of that barley pop, and so I enjoyed spending a lot of time and talking to some of the different people around there.
Yeah, that's a very interesting. It's a very interesting culture. What is when we were out there, the big thing was when we were out there, that was the anniversary of Queen Liliuokalani being deposed. And they were talking about how they wanted their Hawaiian island backs just for the natives and all this. And so one of the people that was talking, I said, so you guys are going to go back to a monarchy? Well, no, we're not going to do that. Well, what are you going to do? Well, it's going to be a constitutional monarchy. Okay. And I'm like, fine, if that's what you want, Right. But, I think the people of Hawaii voted long ago, and I think it was 1959 to become a state. And, there is this very small population that would like to return it to a constitutional monarchy, but I think for overall they're happy the way they are.
I think they're all pretty happy. And, what really surprised me is the medium income, and don't ask me to quote it, but it's fairly low considering the cost of living is so astronomically high there. Absolutely.
And in fact, that was one of the subjects that was brought up at this medical committee or medical conference that I was at, is the many factors that go in the cost of living. One, they have to ship everything there. But the second thing is they've been afraid of big retailers. They really don't want Kmart's and Sears and Costco's and Walmart's all over the island. Well, on the Big Island, they have a Costco and a Target that have lowered the prices significantly. The second thing is most of these, you always have speculators. The speculators come in, buy all the land, and now the Hawaiians can't afford to live there. So it was a very interesting discussion. So you've introduced a very controversial bill about eliminating traffic cams, making them illegal. Give us a little bit of a background and tell us what your bill says.
Well, I have several bills.
All right.
There's a lot of problems with these traffic cameras, and I actually met with the transportation chair and the Department of Transportation today to figure out what direction that we're going to go. I will probably this be the first that I would say publicly. There will be a traffic camera bill on that we will be discussing in the Iowa Senate that will probably be voted on. Really, Pat, my biggest concern is that there seems like there's a proliferation of these cameras all over the state of Iowa. And I think you, Iowans, are being taken advantage of. I just talked to someone today at the Capitol that has told me that they received a fine up in Sioux City for going 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, and he got a ticket in the mail for $160. I mean, I think it's a little bit excessive. There's an example of a small community in southeastern Iowa with a population of 1,431 people that are considering installing a red light traffic camera. I'd really scratch my head and question, around that town square when there's 1,431 people, and this is way off the interstate system, if there's really a lot of accidents that justifies this camera. Not to mention, I have a problem with due process. I don't think it's right. You're guilty, and then we have the opposite that was created by our founding fathers. I can go on and on and on. I mean, there's a lot of reasons and problems with this. Not to mention, most of the viewers out there probably don't realize that anywhere from 40 to 60% of that money goes to an out-of-state, out-of-country company. It doesn't go to your community. Well, so it's just really problematic.
Well, would you be more comfortable if these municipalities simply call it a tax?
If they just would be out front about it, and certainly I think we pay way too many taxes the way it is, but if they would be more honest about that, to answer the question is no, I wouldn't be some more supportive of it. I think we're taxed enough with all the communities, and they have a lot of different avenues they could do. Okay. But I really have a problem. That's not the subject. The subject is these traffic cameras, and I certainly I recognize that I have a very uphill battle on that being banned completely, but I do predict there will be some legislation that'll really kind of reel these cameras in on the local level.
All right, we have about a minute left in this segment before we take a break. One of the arguments for traffic cameras is that it actually helps control accidents and fatalities and injuries at intersections that are busy throughout the city. The city released a study that showed a reduction percentage-wise of about 50%, but in actual number-wise, I think they reduced accidents by 6%. Do you buy into that theory that it's really just about safety, or do you really think that it's more about just trying to make budgets meet?
I recognize there's some safety aspects. I do not advocate anyone breaking traffic laws. If it was about 100% about safety, the amendment that I filed last year that put a cap on how much these violations that the cities could charge for, the cities, I heard from them very loudly. I filed it 3 or 4 days beforehand just to get a reaction out of them, and they were very upset about that. Secondly, in regards to safety, I recognize in Cedar Rapids along 380, which is a raised road, it's very curvy. It probably did improve safety around that area. But I have data that was provided, it's about a year old, from the city of Clive, where they've installed the red light cameras, where rear-end accidents have increased since they put the cameras in.
All right, great. We're with our special guest, Senator Brad Zaun. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break, and we'll be back afterwards. We're going to talk a little bit about what's been going on in your business and everything else when we come back.
Thank you.
All right, this is Doc with Doc and Lefty. We'll be back right after the break. You're listening to us every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on webcast1live.com. We'll be back just in a minute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
It's like they want to get hit.
Need a body shop?
Minor Wreck Express saves you time and money.
This is Doc with Doc and Lefty. Oh my goodness, Lefty actually made it.
How's it going?
Doing all right. You look like you just rolled out of bed. Did you forget it was Tuesday?
I did not forget it was Tuesday, but I had a lot of work to do at the office today, and as our good friend and our special guest, the senator, knows that when you run a small business, sometimes it runs you. And so I was getting together some things that I probably could have left until tomorrow, except that I sort of told the guy that it'd get in the mail. And when you certify a particular postmark date, if you go past that, it's kind of a problem. So I had to get that stuff done. And it's a shame. It's a shame that I was late today for a number of reasons. One, welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
But two, you started off with the traffic cam, and as the designated wacky liberal of the group here, this is something that the senator and I agree very strongly on. I've had a problem with the traffic cams since I think they came from it was someplace out east. The initial studies were not done in the Midwest; they were done out east. These experimental things, and you know more about this than me, but they came in, and I was at the first arguments at the Supreme Court level, the ACLU and the city of Davenport, and listened to Justice Wiggins just pillory the city of Davenport attorney, and thought to myself, well, first of all, Justice Wiggins is kind of a jerk in that sort of like hard questioning kind of sense, not personally. I happen to know him personally. He's a really nice guy. But the city attorney had no answers for his questions, and it got me thinking that these things are just a revenue booster. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. It has nothing to do with safety. It puts a person in a position to get a criminal penalty when a no police officer investigates the crime, deprives them of due process, and I think they're a problem.
Well, Brad and I and you all agree on that. I mean, that's exactly what he said. Ice cream. Oh yeah, let's all. Show's over.
I'll tell you that really, and I've heard from thousands of Iowans. This is not a partisan thing.
It's not.
I will tell you that last year I had an amendment to ban these things. The House actually did it. And I had the votes on the floor to get this bill through. And it was because it was ruled out of order, non-germane. I did not get that to advance. I'll tell you what I've noticed. It's almost more of a younger versus older argument. Older people seem to somewhat favor these traffic cameras more than the younger people just can't stand them.
Yeah. Well, it's an economic hardship.
Yep.
I do have a car that goes very fast, and I can't go down 235 simply because if I'm in sixth gear, I can't go less than 70. So
well, why? But hold on a second. I mean, the natural response would be, why you got to be in sixth gear?
Well, why have a car that goes fast if you can't go fast? No, I'm clowning around about that. But the bottom line is it's an economic hardship for people that are young, particularly in this economy. If they're driving down the road, and I've had several patients say, I just got one of those tickets on the way over here. Last time I came to visit you. Well, suddenly you're adding $80 to a $45 doctor's visit.
Well, what frustrates me about the whole theory of it, and I think that the senator could probably speak to this better than I could, is that the traffic stop, even though there are lots and lots of problems with traffic stops, as we know, or there can be potentially lots and lots of problems, both on the law enforcement side and on the person that's being stopped, they're very important to how these things are regulated. And you take the power away from the police office to investigate these things. I mean, I've been pulled over a few times, like when I was in high school and college, where the officer said, "Okay, you're going a little fast. So what were you doing?" And even though there is no legal excuse for ever speeding, and the county attorney will tell you that for sure, that investigator is able to assess the situation and make the judgment that he or she thought was best given the circumstances of the stop. And these take that control completely out of law enforcement's hands.
Absolutely. Now, what I do know is, at least in Urbandale, they have a policeman that reviews that tape. But the problem is if you stop a little bit short and then go, it looks just like you're on the red line.
Sure.
So I'm all for Brad.
Well, first of all, Urbandale doesn't have them, not to correct you, but the intention was...
I meant Clive.
Yeah.
Is what I meant. Sorry.
But Clive supposedly does have a police officer, and I could just cite all kinds of examples where the fine that was sent out was wrong. I actually just had someone send me a video, but you do get a videotape of it.
Yep.
Where it was someone that had just got off second shift. It was a snowstorm. There was nobody at 128th and Hickman Road, and you could see the video. They hit their brakes. Clearly, you can see their lights go on, and then they slid because of the snow, and they got a violation too as well. So,
yeah. So we're going to talk with Brad a little bit about his business and what he's doing now.
Well,
he was with R&R for a bit, and now he's starting his own shop.
I have a partner, and what we do is we're an IT staffing company, and located in West Des Moines. We also have a mobile apps development company, and it's really been a great business to be in, and I have great people that I work with.
I hear those mobile apps are the next big thing.
That's a young versus old kind of thing, because I don't know.
Mobile apps are going to be for corporations and companies what the websites were 15, 20 years ago.
They're absolutely essential. They're absolutely essential.
All right. So explain to us a little bit about where you develop your IT personnel that you can send out.
We have an office in Chennai, India. So we have some recruiters there. We have several recruiters here in West Des Moines that go out there and we look for people. We send those people out to conferences like a SaaS conference or a BA and I'm talking IT stuff, information security conferences all over the United States. We find out most of the IT people that are out there. There's a lot of them that are full-time employed, but a lot of it's contract work. The larger corporations have a contract, like a 24-month contract, and we send our people out to find out when their contract's due, and if they got the talent that we think would make us look good, we just try to place them in different companies. About 60% of our business is outside of the state of Iowa, and 40% is in the state of Iowa.
Oh, so that's why you're traveling a lot.
Yes, I travel a lot.
So, kind of. If you, I don't want to have you divulge any of the sort of the tricks of the trade for getting your business, but if there are any folks out there who are thinking about starting their own business, or especially in the IT field, were you able to do most of that with private equity financing, or how did you kind of get the ball rolling?
Well, my partner started the company, and I'm an investor in the company. So to answer your question, no, I didn't have to get any loans like that. He started with one employee. And worked like a second or third shift to raise, to build his business. And really, quite frankly, he worked all the time. And he started, kind of built the business up. I know this because I worked at R&R Realty, like Pat said, and I put him in his first office. It was a very small office, and he just grew. And he's the director of staffing, and I'm the director of sales and marketing, and it's a perfect match.
Oh, yeah. A politician being a great salesman. Who would have thought that? Right.
I've always sold all my life, way before I was in public service.
That's terrific. Now, what goes into developing an app?
I would have to tell you, we have some great people that do that. People have to realize that what you're doing versus a website is you've got to build something that's functional on the size of a screen like this. Of course, the iPhone and the iPad is a lot easier because there's really only one platform they use. Droids, there's probably 60 platforms. Then, of course, you get into the BlackBerry, and it's very challenging. You have to know what you're doing in regards to designing those so they don't get shut down, but there's so many different varieties of Androids that are out there.
What's been the biggest challenge for you with your new career?
Really, just having the time. Of course, being a public servant takes a lot of time. And he's, we've got something worked out with my business partner that allows me to do this. And but travel, I travel a lot. Usually East Coast, South, West Coast. Never just kind of in the Midwest, very seldom. So that takes a lot of time away from the family. I do work around my Senate responsibilities. And have not missed any votes. I don't think I've ever missed a vote because of my business. Probably have, if it's a personal situation with a family. But so it's just been a really good business. Who would ever think selling bolts and nuts on 70th and Douglas that I'd be in IT, which really, I can tell you that my expertise in IT has really grown vastly because I'm probably a lot like you, Pat. I mean, I'm very limited on what I can do. I'm a guy that opens up doors and sells our product, and then I let our people that know more about IT than me, finish it out. So.
And that's a very smart strategy. Now we're going to take another quick commercial break for about 1 minute. Who are you going to listen to this time, Frank?
For the break, Tom Coates.
All right, Tom Coates with Town Financial. So thanks to Tom and to Brian Leach for sponsoring the station. and helping us be able to put our show on the air. We'll be back after the break. There's some political questions I want to ask Brad. And we're here every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on webcast1live.com. We'll be back right after the break.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
This is Doc with Doc and Lefty. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We have our very special Uber guest.
Highest profile yet.
Senator Brad Zaun. Thanks for joining us tonight, Brad.
Well, you guys are pretty hard up if I'm the highest profile.
Well, hey, that kind of hurt. We are hard up. He's speaking truth now.
It is the first of the year, so let's assume that you're going to have a lot more important people than me.
Well, I'm sure that all 6 people are really enjoying the talk that we're having
yes.
tonight.
Well, no, we're at least up to 18.
18?
Yeah,
well,
I made
good.
my staff. I told my staff if they're not listening, they're getting fired. So
you can track who's watching you?
No.
Oh.
We're just guessing.
Yeah, we're praying.
I did have a question though, and I don't know if you'd heard, but long time Iowa Senator Tom Harkin retired. I don't know if I'm breaking any news here tonight.
I heard something about that.
And I'm wondering, with all this high profile national and international travel you've been doing, if you're considering, I know that you're starting a new business and you're pretty busy with that, but I'm wondering if you have been considering making a run for that seat in 2 years.
To answer your question is yes, I am. Really, this is 2 years away. I've had a lot of people I've heard from. Really, you are one of the first people I heard from when this story did break. I've heard from, I'd say, over 100 people asking me to consider it. I would be, first of all, be premature to tell you for sure if I'm going to do it. Second of all, I want to see what the field looks like. There's certain people that I really don't want to promote on this show that I probably would not run if they got in. And secondly, my business is growing very well. I have had some conversations with my business partner, and he's very supportive of this if I do decide to do this. And we're still having the conversations at home with my wife and kids, and but it is something that I would have to say that I'm very flattered that I would be considered for. I do think we need to send people to Washington, D.C. that are outsiders. I think we need, and that cuts both ways with Democrats and Republicans. Actually just filed a bill on term limits, which we really, I think, should consider for our national people as well. But I am considering it, and it would work with my business. Luckily, my business has been very good. So we'll see what happens. Time will tell.
Just as an aside, Blake saw how hard I worked when we were running with each other. That's the way I like to phrase it. And Blake saw how hard I worked, and he can also tell you that the most frustrating thing that I would bitch at him, that I would complain
Internet
to him
radio.
about, was, I would say, I just went to this neighborhood, knocked on all these doors, and they always said, there's a guy named Brad Zaun just came through here. He beat me every time at every neighborhood. This is the hardest working politician we got in Iowa. And for my per money, that's the kind of guy we need. The guy is willing to go out there, pound the pavement, work hard, find out what he needs to do, be able to delegate the things that he knows is beyond his expertise, and be able to listen to what the people have to say. That's just my own personal thing. I hope I didn't say anything that offended you there.
No. First of all, I didn't deserve that. That's very nice of you to say that. I do work hard when I campaign. When I ran for mayor would be a great example. I hit every door in Urbandale to run against a 20-year sitting mayor. I did the exact same thing when I ran for state senate. I ran in a Democratic district and had some, and the results were very good. I won every Democratic precinct but one. I lost by like 6 votes. But I work hard, but I just want to have conversations. But I want to tell you, this is a great example. As I got an email from someone today that she sent me 3 different emails. They were all cut and paste emails about 3 different issues that were very liberal that she was advocating for. And I said to her, hey, this is where I'm at. Boom, 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 boom. I'm a little pecker. I don't spend a lot of time and drag on my conversation. But she said to me, she goes, you know what? I appreciate you always responding. And I'm hearing that more and more from people that are having conversations with their elected people or their elected representatives that are not responding. And, our job is to take all the phone calls, return all the phone calls, do as many forums as you can, but most importantly, do the legwork. What was unfortunate about my run for Congress that was and I'm talking about the general election, is here I worked my tail end off. Now I lost by about 2.5%. And my opponent never was anywhere. He showed up at parades. And but what happened is he relied on all this money to just drag me through the mud. And I'm not trying to be partisan on you. I'm talking more from a personal perspective. And so it's unfortunate that money seems to win these elections. Now, money doesn't win these primaries. I've had a lot of people say, well, what if a big name gets in there? There's going to be outrage of money. But you know what? Ask Jim Gibbons about money and how well it did. In a primary, general's a lot different.
Well, what I'd ask you a couple of questions. One, since we did lose that House district, and Tom Latham took that seat, which I'm sure that you two were pretty pleased to see, and frankly, even as a fairly liberal Democrat, I saw the writing on the wall, especially with the way that the registration shifted after the districts got redrawn. But first part of the question, and I think I know the answer. Do you think that had that happened in your race, given the Republican momentum that was happening in 2010, do you think that would have been, the outcome would have been different? And then the second, do you think that the shifting demographics would allow someone like you, who I think that, in the press and sort of Iowa punditry kind of labels as a more conservative Republican, even though we kind of know that you like to keep an open mind about a lot of different issues, knowing you personally, do you think that you would have enough of the demographics to win a statewide election when you haven't done so yet?
To answer your question, boy, I'd really like to know the answer. No doubt about it that you get branded a certain way. I think that the Republicans many times are wrong on issues, and I'm the first to say that they're wrong on issues. I believe that the Democrats are wrong on more issues, and I don't mean that in a partisan way. But that district, the new district that they ran in, the numbers did improve. The one reason why I ran for Congress 4 years ago is I knew it was going to be a big Republican year, which it was. Nationally it was. It was a midterm election, and I thought, even though the numbers were not in my favor, in fact, it would be kind of a miracle to get that thing. I knew that because of the timing's everything in politics, I had a shot. To answer your question statewide, I do believe that I would be very marketable statewide, especially the east side of the state. The east side of the state, we kind of got a divide going on here. It's more Republican in the west and the east. So I think I would be very remarkable, but most importantly, I am an outsider. I'm not someone in Washington, D.C. Listen, the facts are this. We are in problems financially, not because just the Democrats, it's been on steroids lately, but the Republicans started the whole thing. And I'm just going to call a spade a spade. And so I think that if you're an outsider, and I'm very independent, that I think I would get a good consideration. Now, all the negative ads that were written about me, which was very unfortunate, they were mostly lies and misrepresentations. It's old news. Yes, I've made mistakes in the past. I've struggled financially. I admitted that I did that. But, if I do decide to run again, it's not headline material. It's already been out there. So I think that, the way I was portrayed at the very end, I know that Nancy Pelosi dropped like $250,000 into that race like the last 2 weeks. I was sunk. It was like 5 different negative ads against me. It's like a death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
And so I'm considering it. I don't want any of your listeners or you all to think that I've made my decision up, but I'm certainly very flattered that people would even consider me for this.
Could you beat Steve King?
No.
All right. Well, rats. I wish you'd have waited on that one. Can you stay for another segment?
Sure, you bet.
All right, we are here with our super duper uber special guest, Senator Brad Zaun, hardest working man in politics. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com. We'll be back right after the break.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I am administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. But is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though. I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Doc and Lefty. This is Lefty speaking, bringing you back in from that break. I want to thank Service Legends for sponsoring this program, the studio, and everything that we do here. We certainly appreciate Webcast One Live for giving us a forum to discuss the issues of the day. We're here with our special guest, Senator Brad Zaun, and kind of you caught us a little off guard there. We're sitting,
thanks, Frank.
Talking shop. Oh no, he was doing his job. We just don't have our headphones on. I will say we were talking a little bit of shop during the break and sort of all the wonderful things that in the outtakes that you guys will never ever see. There'd be some salacious tidbits. I mean, Brad taught me just informed me, the younger guy in this group, were all of all the guys that have ever gotten in trouble in the state house, who they are and where they live.
And we're creating a list. Blake's checking it.
I did not do that.
No, he did do that. We're just giving Brad, ribbing him for some fun. Yeah. Just ribbing him for some fun. I do have a question. Speaking of primaries, we were talking about primaries. You were pretty upfront. You don't think you can beat Steve King in a primary.
He'd be very difficult.
He would be difficult. I mean, anybody's going to be difficult to beat in a primary. What do you think of Karl Rove basically creating this assassin super PAC to eliminate people before they even get to the primary?
Well, I really question I don't question his motives. I think that that's wrong that he's doing that. Now, here's what I would tell you. I'm not here to defend what happened down in Missouri and the other state that happened. We all know, and Pat, you've been in this shoes up in Tame, Iowa.
Yeah.
You remember.
Yeah.
Where something just comes out. It's the end of the day. That day was like at 8 o'clock at night. I'll never forget when you made nationwide news on that. And I'm not going to go through it all. But
thanks, because I've already apologized about 50 times, and that's how we started our show.
That's right.
2 months ago.
But the point I'm making.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The point I'm making is you get tired and you say things sometimes. What you gotta do is make sure you get your sleep and you shut your mouth when you do that. I know humans make mistakes, and I'm not justifying the comments that happened wherever that was, Missouri. I think it was despicable what was said there and how that was, how that was done.
Well, it was kind of all over. I'm sorry to cut. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and as the president of all liberals, I absolved Doc of what he did and what he said. But the issue, the larger issue is how politically sort of dumb, if I can use that word, dumb do you have to be when the national conversation had been steered very effectively by the president and his campaign team into a war on women. And to just come out and say those, knowing what the national mood that Mitt Romney was out of touch, the Republicans were out of touch, and then here you got Todd Aiken saying what he said. People make mistakes, but that seems like a pretty easy one not to make.
That is a big mistake that I would never do. But we are humans. We do make mistakes from time to time. I think Mr. Rove's intention is, let's not let this happen again. And let's try to find maybe someone that's maybe less of a grenade thrower. But I think a lot of the times you just got to tell it the way it is. And even though it might sound a little bit offensive at times, but I also think that, I've been a public servant for a long time, and you sit around a mayor's desk when you got those heated city council meetings, when emotions are running high. You always got to take a deep breath, and I try to never let my emotions get involved when I have conversations with people. But I think to answer your question, I think Mr. Rove is trying to weed some of that stuff out. I don't agree with that. I think that we need to, there's a process, and we figure out who we want for the nominee.
Well, he stated, Karl Rove over the weekend stated specifically that he's targeting people that are backed by the Libertarian Party or our branch of the Libertarian Party, and targeting people supported by the Tea Party, because he believes it drags the party too far right.
Well,
and so my thing would be, because he thinks that, one, they're damaging, and two, that they're irrelevant. That's basically the flavor that you got from the talks. Do you think that the Tea Party at this point is irrelevant?
Are you kidding me? No. There's no organization with the Tea Party. It's a bunch of Americans that have said, I'm sick and tired of what's going on in Washington, D.C. They're really actually more the libertarians. They're everybody here. I mean, we had the opportunity as Republicans to embrace all the Ron Paul people that have got more involved. They had all this passion. They were younger, typically younger. And as far as I'm concerned, we didn't listen to what they were saying. I mean, I think that we're missing opportunities here. I think that there is a lot of Americans out there. In fact, I would question if there isn't more independents than there are Democrats and Republicans in each party. I don't know the latest figures, but I would question that. And there's a reason for that, because the current party system that's out there right now, it's broken. It's not working. It's not defending the yous and I's of the world. What this new what the Republicans do, they've turned into an establishment party. And boy, I'll tell you better walk the line with those parties, Democrats and Republicans, or you're going to pay for it. Well, that is not what it was our founding fathers had envisioned for us to come down there. Not to make a lifetime out of this thing. Not to mention all the legislation, the crappy legislation that they exempt themselves from, but everybody else has got to eat what they send out of Washington, D.C. So I really, truly believe that I don't know. I obviously don't know enough about what Mr. Rove did or what he was trying to do. But hey, listen, we have a process. And our process is pretty darn healthy. Yes, I'd like to see a little bit more improved. But the election process in the state of Iowa is a very clean process here. And let's let people come out, have the debates, and have the conversations, find out where they're at on the issues, and let the people vote. But I do know this. I hear from so many people that are sick and tired of what's going on in Washington, D.C., and they do not think that they're being heard. And I'm one Iowan that does not think I'm being heard in Washington, D.C. And heck, I'm an Iowa State senator.
Yeah.
You know, I got, first of all, and I really sort of kind of hear what you're saying. The first thing that I'd say, just in response to that to the exchange, is that for Karl Rove to complain that the party's getting too conservative is pretty psychotic sounding to me. I mean, you talk about the architect of the biggest right shift since Ronald Reagan. He did it. So to worry about that, but I think, and I just want to get some perspective on this. This is a thought that I had when I heard his comments. You've got the guy that built one of the biggest super PACs in history, probably the biggest one in history, and spent a lot of money trying to get Mitt Romney and congressional Republicans elected. It's a sort of tongue-in-cheek measure, but his ROI was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
In the 2012 election. I wonder, and this is just speculation on my part, but kind of, if you feel like I'm maybe on the right track, I wonder if his donors didn't come to him and say, Karl, because they're looking at it as an economic decision. And so big money is kind of working against the Republican Party in a way that I don't think that Karl Rove or anybody else, when Citizens United came down, thought was going to happen. Am I way off track? Is that something that...
Well, there's always been a rumor, and Brad would know these power players more than I do, but there's always been a rumor that Karl Rove wants to drag the Republican Party back into the middle. Be much more like Reagan when he was first elected, even though back then he was considered a radical Republican. So that's what I've heard.
I think Karl Rove's intentions are to get Republicans elected.
Yeah.
I believe in the Republican Party. I'm a small business person. People ask me, why are you a Republican? It's because from a business owner's perspective, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you, they represent my values a lot more, and there's some social issues that I feel the same way. And but I think he's trying to get more Republicans. Listen, you got to stand up for what you believe in. You got to tell it the way it is. You got to be honest with people. And I still believe that if you do those things, regardless of what party you're in, there's actually a bill down there to get rid of the straight party ticket voting.
Absolutely.
That I think you could sell in the state of Iowa.
All right, now we're gonna take a break again. Can you stay around a little bit longer?
Sure.
You got to go.
I planned on.
All right, because I know you got a beautiful wife. I wouldn't want to be here talking to me if I could be home talking to my beautiful wife.
Thank you for saying
that.
So
we'll be back right after a short commercial break. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com. We're here every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. Please come back after the break. We'll continue our conversation with Senator Brad Zaun. Thank you for tuning in.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
It's like they want to get hit. Need a body shop?
Minor Wreck Express saves you time and money.
Oh my goodness. We are back. This is Doc with Dr. Lefty. We are so excited. Not only do we have a premier politician in Senator Brad Zaun joining us tonight, we have a new caller.
Never heard from this guy before.
Never heard from him. And, oh, by the way, our most frequent caller, Tim, found out he is going to have a little boy.
Oh, that's great.
So that's terrific. So, yeah, Jeff, how you doing?
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, this is Tim.
Oh, this is Tim.
Your most frequent caller.
All right.
Oh, let down.
Oh, we're let down now. No, we're never let down, Tim. Frank's falling down on the job. I don't know what kind of holy water he's drinking in here.
I guess I...
No. Maybe I have bad phone service or something.
All right. So what's up, Tim?
I just wanted to call in and make a comment about what Brad Zaun had said about, just the state of the Libertarian Party and everything like that. I don't know. during the last election, everyone I talked to liked Ron Paul and would have voted for him if they thought he could have won. I mean, that was the big thing. They're like, well, I'd like to vote for Ron Paul, but it's just never going to happen, so I'll go Romney or Obama.
Yeah, well, what do you think about that, Brad?
Well, I heard the same thing, and thanks for the call, Tim. Ron Paul, that's kind of part of the problem, I think, what we got is we kind of have an anointed one in our primary process. It doesn't seem like it's kind of a free-for-all like it is more around the state of Iowa on a congressional race, like our race, as well as some of the other ones. So I have no problems with Ron Paul as president. I did have some questions about some of the foreign policy things he had.
Agreed.
But hey, listen, monetarily, he was right on.
Mm-hmm.
And really pretty much everything else he did, he was right on. So I got an opportunity to meet with him a couple times, and I certainly could have cast a vote for him.
So, Tim, do you think that the Republican Party, the establishment Republican Party, is too in lockstep, where you have the loser of one primary and John McCain being the next nominee, and then you have the loser of that primary being Mitt Romney being the next nominee, so on and so forth down in history?
You mean, can you rephrase that? I'm not understanding the question.
Well, he is a lawyer.
Well, I'm wondering if you feel that the establishment Republican Party is too in lockstep with how their nominees are chosen.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit too much in lockstep, as well as, I don't know, it doesn't seem like they're really wanting to take advantage of the libertarians that are right-leaning. They're not wanting to go into that field at all. They're not wanting to go more toward the middle. They're kind of staying with their base and trying to get those votes, and they're just forgetting about all the young people who are a little bit more, a little bit more left than far right.
Yeah, especially with social issues.
Especially on social issues.
Yeah, Blake and I have had a couple of conversations about how my opinion is, and I think this is backed up by Blake, is that Republicans really lost a lot of this election based upon social issues. A lot of the people I know that are moderates really said, the Republicans, when they get up there and they start talking about women's rights and immigration, scare a lot of people.
Well, a couple comments towards your statement, Tim. Number one, if I was Mitt Romney, in hindsight's 2020, I would have sat down with Ron Paul and I had said, hey, let's talk about this monetary policy that you have, and maybe I need to make that part of my campaign, which I think would have really helped. I didn't feel like that they really listened to some of the issues that were very passionate about Ron Paul, and so in regards to some of the other issues that were around there, I'll tell you why we got beat. And I have a very good friend or acquaintance that works at Des Moines Christian School that's very conservative, socially very conservative. And she, at 3 different times, had, and registered Republican, 3 different times, an Obama supporter, volunteer, came to her door 3 different times to try to talk to her about why Mitt Romney's bad for women, which was not true. But what happened is we got our butts whooped because organization. The organization that the Obama campaign had was second to none. And there was other gaffes and other mistakes that were made along the way, but we got killed because of that. It was portrayed that Mitt Romney was against anything to do with a woman. I mean, and I don't agree with that. I mean, certainly, for instance, social issues for me, it's very important. Some social issues are important to me, but I'm more interested in creating jobs. It's not my top priority. People think it's my top priority to ban traffic cams. It's not my top priority. I just happened to get in the news on that.
That's just that's everywhere in the news I've seen.
Well, Tim, we're gonna have to take another break here real quick. Is there anything you want to tell Senator Zaun?
Oh, I just wanted to tell him to keep up the good work. I'm very supportive of him, and he can expect my vote for anything he runs for.
Oh, wow.
All right.
That's really nice. Thank you very much, Tim.
All right.
No problem.
We have Senator Brad Zaun. We want to thank him for showing up to our show today. We have another segment left. Thanks, Tim, for calling in. He's always a steadfast listener of ours.
He's my favorite listener.
He's my favorite listener, too. And we will be back right after this break. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
This is Doc with Doc and Lefty. We are here with Lefty and our very special guest, Senator Brad Zaun, who has taken an entire hour out of his legislative day, out of his very business day, and out of his family day just to come down here and talk to me and the big mook over there in the corner, Lefty.
I have nothing to say about
it.
Well,
good. Amazing.
I'm very sorry to all listeners out there that I've taken an hour of your time up. I do want to clarify one thing that I did get a text message on. I am not very good with keyboards. And what I did is I guess I said I am a little pecker. And I can tell you, this is what I was talking about, pecking keys. And
yes,
so
the hunt and peck
sure we
system.
Clarify that, but thank you.
Yes, that's okay. We were just going to let it go and edit it out, but now we got another section we got to edit out. You know, because, Brad Zaun sitting here, I'm a little pecker. It's not, I'm giving you crap, Brad.
It's a pretty good thing.
Yeah, Brad's got a great sense of humor, which is not usual for politicians, either left or right. No. And so we really appreciate you being here. There some states, 2 states, have basically they divide up their electoral college among the congressional districts. And there's a rash of states that are thinking about doing the same thing. Is there any plans, any talk in the Iowa Senate or in the Iowa House about doing something similar?
I've gotten 2 emails in regards to that. I don't know if any legislation's been passed. I will tell you that I think there was a real big push that they were assuming that the last election would be very, very close, which it ended up not being, that there was a push to that. I do believe this would be bad for Iowa. First of all, I think that the Constitution, the way it was written, was really written brilliantly so that rural states had about the same power as the more urban states where the population was. I think if that would happen, Iowa, there would not be one presidential candidate that would probably stop in the state of Iowa because of the national popular vote push that's going on. I would not support that. But like I said, I think if you explain, and most of the people, when I get those emails, I explain, it would really hurt the state of Iowa because we're a very small population state.
All right.
And to tell you, Brad, that's really the best sort of explication of that particular issue that I've heard. I mean, because you hear the fire alarms on the left going off saying, "Oh,
what is an explication?"
Don't make me explain it.
I have no idea what it is. I'm sorry to interrupt. Keep on going.
Well, I use it, but I can't give you a definition off the top of my head. Basically, if you're going to explain the technical details, I don't know, I'm making stuff up. I might have just misspoke.
Oh, right.
Who knows?
Just go ahead.
I'm a little pecker too. So, but no, the most honest sort of defense against this, because you have the folks on the left freaking out because, oh my gosh, Romney would have won if this had been in place in 2012, and then you have some folks on the right who are fending off attacks of changing the rules of the game since they lost, and having it more of a constitutional a federalism kind of take, I think is really refreshing.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about these? I'm not quite sure how to explain it. There's a group of people that think that we should have only a popular vote. And I know what you just said there, but do you think there's a basis for that? Because it would obviously be, Al Gore would have been president, not William Howard Taft, the guy that ran against him, would have been president. You know, what do you think about just having a straight popular vote?
Just it makes sense to me that the person that gets the most votes wins an election. It's won by, like you say, congressional districts is what it is. In this particular instance, it would have probably benefited Mitt Romney rather than President Obama. I think that our framers of the Constitution recognized that there was less populated areas, more agriculturally based areas versus the more populated New York and the Boston and that kind of stuff. I do think that our people that drew up the Constitution were keeping that in mind, and this system has worked very healthy. We could get into an argument about the Bush-Gore race and the Supreme Court deciding that, but I really do believe us as a country are better off for better representation in a power situation for small states like the state of Iowa. It really brings us up to the top because of that. Okay. And that's why we saw the presidential candidates camping out in the state of Iowa this last year.
Well, let me bring up some old news. The governor and A.J. Spiker, the chairman of the Iowa Republican Party, had a little bit of a dust up over the Iowa straw poll. What do you think the fallout from that is going to be?
Well, I would be very hopeful that AJ, who I support as our chairman of our party, and the governor get together and talk about this. I think it's great to always have a conversation to see how we could do things more effectively. And certainly there was a big mistake that happened up in Ames, Iowa this last year, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that regret the way that happened. But I certainly think that we need to have the conversation. It's a huge fundraiser for the Republican Party. I mean, bottom line, that's what it is. Listen, I was involved in Michelle Bachmann's campaign. We worked. She won the straw poll. I know how hard that was and how much capital was expended to that. So maybe we do something different. We still have some kind of celebration like that. But I think that hopefully the governor and AJ will get this all figured out.
All right, good, because you don't want the two leading Republicans butting heads. Right. And that's that. What do you think? How do you think the Republican Party can heal this rift that they have?
It'd be really nice if everybody just sit down and talk through this. Obviously, you have. Just put the cards on the table. There's a lot of Ron Paul people that are very involved. I think we missed an opportunity to bring them in, rather than it seemed like there was this divide between the establishment Republicans and the Ron Paul. We can talk about the Tea Party, whatever you want to call them. And so I don't think it's healthy for Republicans. If I was a Democrat, I'd be saying, yes, I love it. But I do believe, because I'm a very optimistic person, that they'll get everything worked out. Hopefully we'll get behind a candidate in 4 years or 2 years or whatever that is that we could all get behind, and we work hard for that candidate rather than some of this backbiting and backstabbing that's been going on.
You bet.
Do you think that, and I know that we're almost finished here, I said one question I thought of, do you think that if the Ron Paul folks who've been calling him all night and the more establishment Republicans could get together and figure out their differences on foreign policy, that would resolve most of the other differences?
That's going to have to come from, to answer your question is no, because I truly believe, and I hate to say the Ron Paul people. Let's just call them, people that are libertarians.
Sure.
Because Ron Paul's not around anymore. He really isn't. But I do think that there needs to be a conversation about that, and I think that there can be some common ground that could be found. That's national politics, big time, presidential national. I think that's where the rift was. But hey, listen, they're on our central committees all over the state of Iowa, and we need to sit down and have a conversation and embrace the new people. They're mostly new people.
You bet. Now we're with Senator Brad Zaun. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, how we can get a hold of you if you want to utilize it?
I'm going to do this. I'm going to say, here's how you get a hold of Brad Zaun. You could email me at my legislative address, which is brad.zaun.iowa.gov, or you could call me at 515-281-3371. That's my state house number. Or home, 515-276-2025. I appreciate the plug on my business. My business is Grapnell Tech Services, located in West Des Moines. You could Google it, and we got a website.
All right, great. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks to Tim for calling in. Again, thank you, Brad, hardest working man in politics, for showing up, giving us an hour of his time. We really, really appreciate it. Brad is also going to have a show on Thursdays from what, 1 to 2?
From 4 to 5.
From 4 to 5?
I'm going to be doing it with Jack Whitfer and Mark Shelgren. And but it's an honor to be on your show, Pat. You've always been a good friend. People don't realize. I mean, I missed you after the campaign was over because we were pretty much hanging out all the time together. But you're a great Iowan, and certainly I don't know you very well, but you sound like an incredible person as well. And I wish you guys
for a liberal.
luck. Well, I wish you all luck in your show.
All right, thanks. We'll be back next week from 6 to 7 p.m. here on webcast1live.com. I want to thank all of our callers and listeners and Brad Zaun for joining us today. We'll see you here next week.
Have a pleasant evening.